Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
I would just replace all of my chairs with toilets and go on with my life.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
Everyone's idiots.
I am the devil.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I'm your host tonight, Caleb. I'm here with Landen.
Hello.
And my very presence as the host indicates an absence of Wes, who is not with us because he has the flu, is what we have been told. We were not told whether or not this was an actual, viral flu, or if it's the colloquial stomach flu, which, as far as I'm aware, is technically bacterial, not viral. And I don't know which one of those it is. He did not elaborate with details.
Probably a good thing.
Is fair. We don't want to know. Anyways, so yes, it's just us two tonight, but that's okay. We're going to talk about Microsoft all night long. I'm just kidding. We have absolutely no Microsoft news on the docket for today. Sorry, Wes, if something super exciting happened, like they announced the dates for the Build conference or something like that, which I'm actually pretty sure they did do, but I'm not looking it up. So there it is. We're so good at our jobs.
Yay.
Anywho, there was a more significant event that did happen this week, and we're going to get started with that. The Android Show I/O edition.
Yeah, this is something they started last year because they can't cover Android at I/O anymore because obviously they ought to just rename it to AIO because obviously that's what it is.
Oh, no.
And
so
sadly
true.
enough, I mean, even the Android show was mostly talking about Gemini because obviously.
The AI Android Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that's the Android show is AI. No.
Done.
Well, we can talk more, I guess. So, I didn't actually watch the show because I've learned over the years that I can get all the information I really need by just reading articles about it, watching clips, and also what I've done the last year and this year was just put the video link into Gemini and said, hey, give me a detailed rundown of what happened in this video. And it does that for me. It's great. It takes my notes. It's lovely. AI is useful in some cases, I will say. When it's talking about itself, obviously.
That's not problematic at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Gemini, glaze yourself for an hour. Go ahead.
Yep. So, Android Show I/O edition, covering a lot of the new stuff that is coming to Android in this next version of Android, which I believe is 17, 18. I don't know which version they're on right now.
Whatever. It's a number.
It's a number. It doesn't really matter at this point. But one of the first things they talked about, again, Gemini, and what they're now calling Gemini Intelligence. Because that makes sense.
I sure hope they start abbreviating that as GI because that's not an overloaded term already.
Yeah. Well, maybe if they do that and then they come out with if the new Pixel A phone is like Joe and it's G.I. Joe, that would be great.
There you go. Perfect.
It's not going to happen, but that would be fantastic.
I'm waiting for the GI tracked version.
I mean, we've got that. It's just AI.
Hey,
it's already there.
Output is all crap. Good. I like it.
Yes. So some of the new stuff that is coming to Android via Gemini Intelligence on Android. Oh, I really hate that that's a thing, but it is. There are actually some good things that I like that is coming. The first thing they talked about was app and web automation. So this is kind of like agentic AI, ish is what they're pushing it as. Basically, what they're advertising is that you can just ask it to do things for you, which has been advertised forever when it comes to this stuff. Just, it's like, hey, you can just tell it to buy you these tickets for this concert coming up, and it'll supposedly do that. But it's never been able to do that.
Nope.
And I would be shocked if it's able to do it now.
Same.
And even then, like, I was listening to an interview with Samir Samat, who is he's not CEO, but he's like one of the head guys over Android. And he was saying how, like, it's funny because in the video, they show, like, literally just show it. Like, you put up a picture of a concert poster that's on a wall and say, hey, buy me tickets to this. It shows Gemini working in the background and then says tickets purchased. And it's supposedly that easy. But in reality, it doesn't actually purchase the tickets for you. You do have to confirm any purchase that Gemini has set everything else up for you. Suppose that's what Samir Samat said in this interview I listened to, which that's actually a really good thing, that it doesn't just buy something for you. Because
100%.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's going to be mistakes. It's like, did it actually buy the seats that you wanted? Or did you want just general admission? Or did it buy you front row VIP backstage stuff when all you can afford is the nosebleeds? You know, you don't want it to actually buy stuff for you. You want to be able to. It's fine if it'll do all the back end stuff up to the purchase point, and then you can confirm that stuff to make sure it's actually what you want. If it does that, great. Again, I don't think it's going to actually do that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this has been a promise of AI for at least 3 or 4 years at this point, and it still hasn't happened.
Thing. It's been a promise of AI in general for 3 or 4 years. It's been a promise of Google specifically.
Yeah.
For like a decade.
Yep.
They've been touting that the assistant is going to be able to do this since 2016 feels about right. Like since then, they've been like, yes, you'll be able to tell it to do these things and it will do all of this magic stuff. And it's like, oh, wow, that looks so cool in that demo that you just showed. Is that feature ever going to ship? Ever? No, it's not. And I doubt this is going to, like, that's the thing is, yes, it's good that it can't actually make the purchase for you. I suspect that even if it could, like, even if it were empowered to make the purchase, the chain would break before it got to that point anyways. And it would come back with I'm sorry, I'm unable to do that for X reason. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, it would be nice if it did do things like this, but again, I don't expect it to actually work the way they're advertising it any time in the near future, especially this latest version of Android. I'd be shocked if it worked to any extent.
Yep. Well, in fact, you know what? It's technically against Google's best interests if it did work. Because if it did work, then that would mean people would no longer have to look at websites in order to like do ticket purchases and stuff like that, which would mean Google wasn't able to sell ad space on those websites.
Yep.
For people to look at, which means, yeah, I get the sense that there's a lot of reasons why, non-technical reasons, in fact, purely like business reasons, why we're never going to see this as an actual product shipped to consumers, because it just kind of seems antithetical to the entire function of the internet as a whole in this day and age. Like, oh no, we're going to make it so that your eyes are not on our websites. I don't think we could, like, even if Google managed to get the AI to do this, I think every website that sells tickets would immediately break whatever allows Google to do it. You know, like they would just be like, oh crap, we got to shut those APIs down or whatever.
Yeah.
We need people to look at this. We're selling ad space.
Yeah, and also, how does it get past the fact that, every time you go to purchase anything like this, you generally have to push a button that says, I'm not a robot.
That's true. Oh, I guess we find out how good those CAPTCHAs actually are.
Yeah. All right, the next one, which this one, I get they're adding something to this, but at the same time, it's like, this has been a thing for longer than any assistant has. They're calling it intelligent autofill. So, listener, if you know what autofill is, where like if you go to a website and it wants you to fill in like your name, address, phone number, email, and all that stuff, you've been able to autofill that stuff really easily for a long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a long time. Basically, what they're adding to this to call it intelligent autofill, I don't know, is the ability to. The example they gave was if you have taken a picture of your passport, because you do that. I don't know. I don't have a passport, so I don't know. But if you've taken a picture of it and it's inside of Google Photos, and for some reason you need to import your passport number into some sort of website, it can go into Google Photos, find it, and do it that way, instead of having it already in whatever autofill scenario you use, which is any web browser or most apps on your phone already. I'm confused as to why this is different than what we have already.
What I'm hearing is that Google Photos knows your passport number.
Yeah.
And that I'm concerned for other reasons about that. But okay, go off, Google.
They are saying that this stuff, like, and this includes it can't really include the app and web. I don't know. Some of this stuff is on device, like AI and whatnot. So
yeah,
that makes it somewhat better, I suppose. I don't know.
Maybe,
but again,
I don't know.
I don't really know how this is going to be any better than what autofill already is. I actually think it's probably going to be worse.
That's true.
Because in my experience, throwing AI into something doesn't make it better.
It tends to decrease the reliability of it.
Yes.
Like it will make way more suggestions, but you have to manually verify those suggestions way more closely.
Yeah.
Because they're prone to screw up more often than our older versions, like our older methods for doing this stuff. It also means that there's a reasonably good chance that if you have just the exact wrong meme from the Bourne Identity saved onto your phone, that it's going to fill in your passport details with Jason Bourne's passports or something like that. Like, I don't know. I think this is a bad idea.
Probably.
I think this is a bad idea.
Yep. All right. The next feature that they talked about, and these next two features, I actually genuinely like. So this first one, they're calling it a Rambler feature. And what this does is if you are doing voice to text type thing, whether say you're typing a message to someone or you're just talking to Gemini in general, if you're saying something and you're like, well, actually, I want to do this, or like, you tell so-and-so to do this, or wait, no, go back, this is, you're rambling. Like, the name is perfect. I love it. It can actually take everything you said, make a cohesive sentence or two out of that, and then it'll, you can say, it'll tell you, do you want to send this message? And you read it over, and yeah, okay, that makes sense. Send that. Great. Actually love that. So That's really cool.
Yeah. And listen, that's what we've all needed out of our voice to text systems. Like, and the ability, even if it's just doing removing filler words, or, whatever stuff like that, that'd be nice. And I do hope this one works as advertised, because I feel like that right there is actually a good reason for spending so much time trying to teach computers how we talk, is so that they can listen to us and go, right, this is what you meant to say underneath all of the other nonsense that came out of your mouth. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's a good reason to do that. Every other thing we have done with AI over the past 5 years, there's a lot of bad reasons for teaching computers how we talk. But this is a good reason.
Yes. This is a great thing. I really hope it works as advertised because it's a really cool feature. This next one, this is something that could potentially get me to switch back to Android. It's called Create My Widget. Basically, lets you use AI to just make a widget on your phone. And this can be anything, like different examples that I've seen people talk about is like, say you have, like, if you have a countdown to a specific date, you can just say, hey, create a widget that's counting down the days to this point. And it'll do that. And it's right on your home screen or wherever you want to put it.
Yeah.
Just right there. Or like one thing that they suggested on the video was suggested 3 high protein meal prep recipes every week. And then it'll show up on this little widget on your home screen. Really cool.
Yeah.
You know, or like I've seen someone say it's like if you're training for a marathon, you can have your workout routine right on the widget right there for you. I actually love this. This is a really cool and could be very beneficial feature for a lot of people.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when Apple first announced the Shortcuts app on iOS.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, the power that this app can give you to customize your information that's displayed to you is massive. But then I got in and started playing with it and realized that, yes, it is extremely powerful. No, it is not really that easy or straightforward. It does take some effort. This is basically automating the Shortcuts app. And that, I do like that. I do like that.
Yeah, I really like this feature. I would love to see this come to iOS, but it's going to be like 4 years before it happens.
Honestly, even if all they did was just automate the Shortcuts app.
I mean, yeah.
I think that would get people like 90% of the way there.
And that's the thing. Like, I've used the shortcuts and automation on my phone. Like, I've got some automations to automatically change my watch face at certain times on certain days because I have a specific watch face that I like to use while I'm at work versus when I'm at home. So I've got it set up to 30 minutes before I go to work. It changes to that watch face, and I've had to go in and manually do, and it's not the most user-friendly experience. Once it's set up, it works great, but the fact that just getting it set up is a pain in the butt, which I think makes it so most people don't actually use the Shortcuts app for anything because, again, it's just not the most user-friendly interface that's there. But if you could just say, hey, Siri, in this case, I guess, for iOS, or Gemini, because that's what it's going to be, but like you just tell it, hey, I want to have this shortcut or this automation do this at this time on this day, and it just does it. That would be fantastic.
Yep.
And this is kind of that same idea, but it then just creates a widget on your home screen for you to look at every day, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, you can make widgets via the Shortcuts app too, which is, where the two kind of cross over.
Right.
But it is kind of a pain in the butt to get those widgets to actually display what you want to do or do what you want them to do. And this would be nice. Yeah. If you could just give it a plain text prompt and just have it lay out the whole process for you without you having to do anything, that would be nice. I actually kind of like the concept of like using a prompt to generate a shortcut on iOS a little bit better than what Google was showing off, because then if the system gets screwed up in the creation of the shortcut, you can like look through it and be like, oh, there's the problem, and change it and fix it yourself, potentially.
Right.
That's maybe kind of a power user viewpoint, I suppose, but I either one honestly would be nice.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, they've this next section is talking about some it's Android 17. That's what it says here, according to my Gemini rundown. So again, maybe not 17, but that's what it says here. Android 17 core experience upgrades is what it's claiming this is. And the first thing that they're talking about is they've partnered with Meta, which is never a fun thing, but they've partnered with Meta to make Instagram on Android a little bit better. Basically, what it is doing is inside of the Instagram app, if you're using the Instagram camera for some stupid reason, don't do that. But they made it so it'll record in HDR, have night mode, built-in stabilization straight inside of Instagram. So good things. So basically makes it so it's like using the regular camera app on your phone inside of Instagram. A little, I don't know. I kind of thought that was already the way it worked, but I guess not.
I was going to say, is that not how it... Okay.
Because maybe that is the way it is on iOS, because I'm pretty sure it is, and they just never did it with Android until now. But
yeah. Weird.
It is weird. They've also apparently convinced Instagram to fully redesign Instagram to be better or look better on Android tablets. Which,
well,
I guess that makes sense because Instagram did finally make an iPad app last year. So
that's true.
Now they have to, I guess, do the same for Android tablets for the 10 people that use them. So, yeah.
Yep.
Neat. They've made some smart creator tools. Yeah. That's it. No.
Okay.
Some of these new features include Smart Enhance, which says to upscale and add clarity to old blurry photos. Okay, that's something you can basically already do inside of Google Photos, but now it's, I don't know. Sound separation, which basically makes it just takes out background noise or like wind or, background sounds in your videos. Again, I thought that was already there. Whatever. One thing that I actually thought was kind of cool that they're putting inside of Android just in and of itself. Basically what they're doing is making it so, like, if you've ever watched on TikTok or Instagram or any of these video or like influencer video type apps where somebody is talking and like their picture is overlaid of something behind, like, they're showing a video or a picture and they're like pointing at it because they're in front of it. You have to do that inside of other apps right now, but they're making it so you can do this right inside of Android. You don't have to go to a different app. It just utilizes the front-facing camera, so you have a picture there, and like it'll do a screen recording and use the front-facing camera at the same time, and take out your background. You don't have to have a green screen. You don't have to do all this fancy editing. It'll just do it for you, which I actually it's not something I'm ever going to use, but I do like that it's just going to be built into the operating system. So
yeah,
it's kind of a way to maybe convince more creators to use an Android phone. I don't think it's going to work, but it's there.
I mean, it's clearly a feature that was made for TikTok.
Yes.
But yeah, is what it is.
Yeah. The next thing, and this is definitely the most important thing that was talked about in this whole keynote thing, was they refreshed all of the emoji in Android.
Oh, good. Yes.
Which, okay, whatever. But if you actually go and look at what they've done, they honestly look really, really good. They're like more 3D. They just look more, not lifelike, but like real. I don't know how to really describe. They're just, there's more depth to these emoji now. Like they just look visually more appealing. And I actually don't hate it. It's just, they have to talk about it because it's funny. Like I listen to a lot of different people that like have data on why people update their phones. And one of the big reasons is because there's either new emoji or updated emoji and things. And it's like, oh, they just sent me an emoji that I can't see because I have an okay, I got to go update my
Oh,
phone so I
man.
can get. Honestly, I think it's dumb, but it's one of
Yeah.
the main reasons people update their phones, sadly.
Yeah. It makes sense. I don't. Oh,
So that's a new thing. Now, this next feature is called Pause Point, and this is inside of digital well-being, which on iOS is like screen time. It's basically something that lets you know how often you're using different apps, and you can set timers on these apps. But the problem with that, and like I've seen this with multiple people, it's been a problem for me, and I actually just stopped using screen time, like pause, like things that makes it so you supposedly can't use the app anymore because you set a timer on it. The problem with those is you can very easily bypass those timers by typing in a PIN code, and you just go on and you're fine. And that's the only
Yep.
barrier to entry to getting back into these apps that you've set a timer on. It really, unless you're actually dedicated to not using these apps more than a certain amount of time, it's not going to stop you from using those apps because, again, all you have to do is type in a passcode and then you're back in. Where this now is, like I said, it's called Pause Point, and what it does is if you've designated this app as a distracting app, what it'll do is when you go to open it, it puts in a 10-second pause and asks you, it's like, do you really want to get on this app? And it can actually like show custom photos from your Google Photos library, or different, like it'll suggest different apps, like healthier alternative apps, as it says here, like audiobooks or workout trackers. And it actually takes, like, it physically makes you wait 10 seconds before you have to then bypass with a code and to get into the app. It's like, I actually love this because then you have to think about, wait,
yeah.
do I actually want to get, maybe I'll go do something else. I think it's brilliant.
Using the average TikTok user's attention span against them.
Yeah.
To try and get them to stop using TikTok. That's clever. I never would have thought of it, but that is clever.
It's really smart. I think it's brilliant. Like having a 10-second pause to be like, is this really what? It's kind of like on Netflix when you've been watching and watching. Are you still there? But this is actually good for you. So I think it's really, really cool feature. And then this one actually, I don't know if they worked with Apple in this, but they've made it easier to switch between iOS and Android. This isn't just going from iOS to Android, but also going from Android to iOS. They've made it so it's just a lot easier to transfer between phones. Like you'll transfer over home screen layouts, passwords, photos, like way more stuff than, like, I've made this transition and I got a lot of stuff over, but obviously I couldn't get my home screen layout because, I mean, I did switch over to iOS after the implementation of widgets on iOS because I didn't want to switch over before that. And also the idea that I could not have all my apps on the home screen. I could actually have an app drawer, which is, again, nice. But now that the two OSs are very, very similar in how they work and how they look and things like that, you can now do a lot of these things. And like I said, I'm pretty sure they would have had to have worked with Apple to make this actually work as seamlessly as they say it does. But in order to really make, like, transfer over all this stuff, it's really nice. It's very consumer friendly.
Yeah, it's probably because the EU made them.
Yes,
It's this feels like a Digital Markets Act spillover.
I'm sure it is.
You know, that's why it feels consumer friendly. It's because it wasn't the giant corporation that made the choice.
Yes, very true. The next thing they talked about was a little bit of Android Auto and Google built-in car. So like Google built-in and Android Auto, two different things. Android Auto kind of works off your phone. So like your car has its own little infotainment system. It's got its own manual thing there. But if you use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you use your phone and it'll pop up on the screen with different apps. Whereas Google built-in is these companies using Android inside of their car to run the car. Well, not run the car, but like run the infotainment system that's there.
In some cases, it basically is running the car. Let's be honest.
Yes, that is fair. So some of these changes here, they're going to be going across both systems in some ways, but like in Android Auto, it's going to be a little more personalized look to it. It's going to more mirror what your phone looks like. So it'll kind of have like a different wall, like bringing kind of the wallpaper that you have on your phone, not specifically, but it'll look a little more like what's on your phone. So it's just a little more personalized and just looks more like how you want it to look. I don't hate that. It's not a bad thing. The one big feature here though is inside of Google Maps. And from what it sounds like, this is just going to be in Google Maps in general, not just in Android Auto and the Google built-in car feature. But it's basically, the way I want to describe it is basically making Google Maps look more like Apple Maps, where it's got that 3D immersive view. So like, I actually really like that look of Apple Maps, but I like the functionality of Google Maps better. So this is kind of like bringing both worlds together in the best way possible, because you're getting the functionality of Google Maps, but the look of Apple Maps. And I like that. So thank you, Google, for finally updating Google Maps to look, more futuristic and better.
Yep.
And this one I thought was interesting. So in-car entertainment. This allows you to watch YouTube videos at 60 frames per second HD while parked or charging. So if you have an EV or charging, you do have to be parked to be able to watch these videos. So that is good. But you can watch HD YouTube videos inside your car now. But it also says when you shift to drive, this is going to obviously has to be with the Google built-in part, because if you're just using Android Auto, it's not going to know when you go from park to drive. So I don't know how that's going to automatically switch. But with Google built in, when you shift into drive, the video will automatically transition to, as they're describing, like a podcast, audio-only podcast mode. So like puts it in the background. What they don't mention, because you have to read the fine print, is that only works if you have YouTube Premium, because you can't just listen to YouTube videos in the background if you don't pay for it. That's not a thing. So if you don't pay for it, I'm assuming it just turns the video off. I don't know. They didn't talk about that. But that is a nice feature. So if you aren't done watching a video and you want to leave, or you have to leave for some reason, it'll just put it on in the background so you can't watch it, but you can still listen to it while you're driving. That's fine. But again, only for YouTube Premium subscribers. So Wes could utilize this if he had a car that supported it, but he doesn't.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Sorry, Wes. You can't utilize this, even though you should be able. Anyways, maybe buy a better car, Wes. Jeez, what the heck?
Yeah, in this economy, just go for it.
Just go buy a nice car. Come on. Yeah. So that's that. Now, the next one, this is obviously only for cars with Google built in inside of it, but Gemini can now, as it says here, Gemini can use the actual physical dimensions of the car to answer specific questions. And the example they gave was, say you just bought a new TV, and it's like, can I fit this TV box inside of the trunk of my car with the seats folded down? And because it's built into the system, it knows the dimensions of your car. It can tell you, yeah, that box will fit in, or it won't fit inside your car. You're going to need to fit it some other way. That's actually really kind of cool. It can also, if something pops up on like a warning light pops up somewhere, you can just ask Gemini, hey, what's this warning light that just popped up? And it'll know, at least give you an idea of what it is indicating. It may not be able to tell you exactly what the problem is, because you may need to go to a mechanic for that, but it can give you an idea of why that has popped up. So I actually kind of like that. Again, hopefully it works the way that they're advertising it, but that's kind of cool. And they've partnered with, I think I saw 9 different car companies that use Google built in to utilize this vehicle context awareness, as they're calling it. Kind of cool. The next thing, and this was, I'm calling it their one more thing. I don't know if they said that phrase or not. Again, I didn't watch the video. I really hope they did, because that'd be funny. But their last little thing that they talked about was a new desktop operating system, because they need another one of those. And they're putting it inside of a thing called Google Book. Not a Chromebook, a Google Book.
Google Book.
And the Google Book, as they're calling it, is a brand new category of premium laptops built from the ground up around Gemini intelligence, combining elements of Android and Chrome OS. Now, we've been hearing about this operating system as internally being called aluminium. And yes, it is aluminium, not aluminum, because it's spelled the British way for some weird reason. We've been hearing about this operating system for at least 2 or 3 years being worked on. And we've been waiting and waiting for it to be pushed out into the wild. And they didn't give it a name. They just called it the Google Book computer.
Yeah. Well, I think because they're,
Because it's not Chrome OS. Like, there are definitely distinct.
It's not.
Like, if you look at it, it doesn't look. I mean, it looks similar to Chrome OS, but it is more like Android thing. I don't know. It's weird.
I think that we'll probably get a name for the OS at I/O.
I'm hoping.
Because I don't think this is the name. Like, Google Book is a platform.
Right.
Like Chromebook, you know?
Yeah.
And the hardware is not going to be made just by Google. It'll be made by other companies, like Chromebooks are.
Yeah.
And I just, Chromebooks have Chrome OS. Google Book is it's going to be Google OS. They're just going to do something dumb like that and call it Google OS.
It's probably going to be called Gemini OS, let's be honest.
Oh, gosh. Please no, but also, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So the main things that they talked about, they didn't, from what I understand, they haven't gone into great detail about everything this can do yet. And again, we're probably, like Caleb said, it's probably going to be talked a little more at I/O this next week. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there. But a couple of things that they did talk about is they reinvented the cursor on your phone, on your computer, because what we've been using for the last 30 years obviously isn't good enough for some weird reason. And what they did is, I'm just going to preface this. If you've been using Mac OS for any period of time, do not switch over to this computer, because on Mac OS, if you wiggle the mouse for more than a couple seconds, it gets bigger to say, hey, this is where the mouse is. Because generally, when you start to move your mouse in rapid succession, it's because you're trying to find where it is. It makes sense.
You can't see it. You've lost it somewhere on your screen, and you're trying to find it, so you jiggle it around, and Apple goes, oh, they lost their cursor, and then blows it up for you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's over here.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
It's a really user-friendly and makes sense feature, right?
Yep.
I love it. But now on Google Book, if you wiggle the mouse for an extent, more than a second or two, it just basically turns it into a Gemini mouse
prompt.
Yeah.
I guess.
So the way it works is you wiggle it, it starts to glow like the Gemini colors do. And then you can click on different things and then ask a prompt, hey, how do these things fit together? Or make the one thing that I saw about it is they showed somebody taking a picture of a wallpaper and a crib, and then put it inside a picture of their room. It's make these things look, or put these things together. And basically what it is it put the wallpaper on the walls, put the crib inside the room, and made it look like a nursery for a baby. Kind of cool, but again, if you've used a mouse
I just lost my mouse cursor. I didn't want this at all. Google, what are you doing?
So, I mean, I like the idea behind it, but why not do a keyboard shortcut or like a right click or something different?
I hate to say it, but why not do a Copilot button on the keyboard?
Yeah.
That just seems better. Like sure, you can still have it be the cursor.
Yeah.
So that you click on, you can still, everything about it can be the same. Just have it triggered by a gesture or emotion that is not everyone's first instinct for when they can't find the mouse cursor against like a weird color on the background. Because this is not the reason Apple did it the way they did it is because this is an extremely common thing to do when you have lost your mouse cursor. And Google's all like, oh, you lost your mouse cursor? Surely you want Gemini to analyze your desktop and tell you about whatever it is you happen to be hovering over right now.
Yeah. It's an interesting way to initialize this feature. Again, I don't hate the feature. I just, like Caleb said, put a button on the keyboard or anything. Like, because the Google Book implies obviously laptop, and that's what it's going to be. It's not, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road a desktop version of this gets made, but initially it's going to be a laptop. Make it like a multi-finger gesture or something like that on the trackpad, or again, a button on the keyboard, anything, not just swipe it, like jiggling the cursor and then, I accessed Gemini. I just wanted to find the cursor. Now it's glowing. How do I get out of this? What do I do? Do I have to just make a prompt now? This is not what I wanted, but okay.
This is going to result in more accidental activations of Gemini than even Apple's whole if you hold down your space bar for too long, then Siri pops up for some reason.
Yeah.
I guess it's command space bar for that shortcut. But, you try to access Spotlight. If you hold it down for a split second too long, then Siri pops up and jump scares you. This is going to be so much worse than even that.
Yeah. Interesting. The next thing that they talked about with this new Google Book OS is cross-device phone integration, basically allowing you to bring your phone screen up on the screen of your laptop, which again, that is something that that macOS implemented 2 years ago, because I can't say it was this last year because I have it on my computer and my computer can't get the most recent operating system. So that's been at least 2 years ago that Apple did this, and it is a very nice feature. I do like that. I do utilize it sometimes, not a lot, but every once in a while I do that. So the fact that you'll be able to do this, I don't think right now it's going to work on iOS, but I mean the feature also doesn't work with an Android phone and macOS, so that makes sense. But with an Android phone, you can pop up your phone screen right on the screen of your laptop and access things on there. A nice feature, cool feature to have. You can also access the Play Store directly through this Google Book OS, whether it's through your phone or just through the laptop. You can have all the apps that are there will be on this operating system as well. So, like I said, it's a definite combination of Android and Chrome OS, but we don't have a whole lot of details yet because they just kind of briefly mentioned it at the end of this little video. They did mention partnerships like Caleb talked about. They're partnered with HP, Dell, Lenovo, Acer, and Asus to make these laptops. I would assume that they'll come out with their own Google branded version of it as well. They, again, didn't mention that. They did show off some sort of hardware, but didn't have any branding on it anywhere. It did have that little pixel glow bar that we talked about a couple weeks ago. They didn't really say that it does anything other than it looks cool. So, whatever. But yeah, that was the Android show, I/O edition. A lot of interesting things. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is I can't say a lot of this stuff is going to be talked about at I.O. because that's why they do this, but it'll be interesting to see what they add to it at I.O. I believe that's this week. So there's going to be more talked about there, and obviously it's going to be way more Gemini stuff, so just buckle up for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're buckled up, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to Apple news, I suppose. It affects us all, green bubbles and blue bubbles alike.
Yeah.
End-to-end encryption has now been enabled via RCS between iOS and Android. So you can now fundamentally enjoy the full functionality of RCS when texting between iOS and Android phones.
Yeah.
In the most recent version of iOS. You do have to update in order to fully enable that. But yeah, that's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like this is probably still the ideal way to have it rolled out, because the only way it would have happened before this was if Apple had just adopted Google's version of RCS, which would not have fixed any third-party implementations of RCS that weren't Apple or Google.
Right.
Of which there are a number. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but it's a number. They're not the only two people that have made texting apps that use RCS. So this way, Apple basically went to the consortium in charge of RCS and SMS and whatnot and was all like, hey, can we just make end-to-end encryption part of the standard? So it was made part of the standard. Standard got updated. Apple has now implemented the latest version of the standard.
Yep.
And hence end-to-end encryption with anyone who is supporting the most recent standard of RCS.
Yeah. And I have heard there are some hiccups still when it comes to group chats with iOS and Android phones. May or may not work. But if it's just one-on-one chats, as long as the person on Android and the person on iOS both have RCS set up, which if you don't, just go do that. It's way better than SMS by far. And again, end-to-end encrypted now. So, and there now not all carriers are supporting this yet, but it's true. Very low. If you're on any major carrier, that includes the 20 different MVNOs that are available. Even those ones are supporting our end-to-end encryption on RCS. So it's you have to have an extremely niche, no-name MVNO in order to not have this set up. So it's most likely that you do have it there available to you. If again, and it may be turned on already, but if you don't know, go check in your settings, whether it's your Messages app settings or your OS settings. You can find it. But yeah, it's most likely available to you, listener, wherever you're at.
Yep, highly recommend.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to less happy Apple news. Just kind of a PSA. So we've talked about over the past year and change about how Apple, bizarrely, is currently offering up the best value for money in both desktop PCs and laptops in the form of the base model, important detail, base model of the Mac Mini and the MacBook Neo most recently. MacBook Neo, Apple grossly underestimated the potential popularity of that device.
Yeah.
And it is kind of hard to get your hand on just in general. And technically, Apple has not responded to this massive wave of popularity by raising the price, but they have responded to A, the massive wave of popularity, and B, the massive price of RAM and storage in our current tech climate. by discontinuing the base model of both the MacBook Neo and the Mac Mini, which is a kick in the pants because the Mac Mini, boy howdy, that thing was flippin' awesome. Unfortunately, for all of us normal consumers, it's not even just a case of AI data centers scooping up all of the RAM for facilities that are never going to get built because there's not any actual money in the industry, but they've paid billions of dollars to reserve the manufacturing production of all 3 RAM fabs in the world for like the next 5 years. Stupid. It's all so stupid. Anyways, the other issue with the Mac Mini is that by itself, with the processor that it has and the tiny amount of power it uses, it's actually an amazing machine for running AI clusters, just individually. So a lot of businesses were looking at the rising cost of RAM and going, geez, really don't want to build out a server that has enough RAM and the necessary CPU horsepower to run an AI node or something like that. What if I just buy a whack ton of Mac Minis and plug them all into each other? Turns out, actually the M4 neural processor on the Mac Mini, on all Apple devices, the neural engine on that, they're just better than anything else that you can get in any other processor.
Yeah.
And bang for the buck on the Mac Mini is an astonishingly good deal. So a whole bunch of people are buying Mac Minis for AI. And RAM prices suck because of AI, and storage prices suck because of AI, and nobody's making graphics cards because they're all making AI cards instead. Just everything about technology prices as a consumer listener is AI's fault. Not even indirectly. It's all very directly AI's fault.
Yeah.
So if you don't hate AI, I don't know what else to tell you. You must not actually care about the price of anything that you use, the usability of anything you use. We're going to end up in a technological stone age if things continue like this. Fortunately, I'm convinced things will not continue like this because the bubble is going to pop at some point in the next year or two. And when it does, the economy is going to collapse probably. So I don't know that that's necessarily better, but it will be different at least, I suppose. Anyways. So yes, PSA, if you were thinking of getting the best bang for the buck that you could possibly get on a laptop or desktop PC, you kind of missed your window on that one. I will say at the very least, they're no longer selling the cheapest version of the MacBook Neo. There's only 2 configurations of that laptop.
Yeah.
So they are selling the other configuration, which was only $100 more. So the MacBook Neo is still good, like really solid bang for the buck. Honestly, probably the best bang for the buck in the laptop space right now. The Mac Mini, the next step up on the Mac Mini was not quite as chill. So I don't know about that one. However, Apple's prices have not necessarily been increasing the same way as PC manufacturer prices have been increasing with the RAM and storage issues. So the Mac Mini probably still makes sense. It's just that base model was such a good deal, man.
Yeah. I unfortunately am one of those that missed out because I have been wanting to upgrade my Mac Mini because I've got a 2018 Mac. It's the last Intel Mac Mini they made. And it still actually surprisingly runs pretty well.
They're good machines.
For what I need, it would be nice to have a little more speed than what I have, but it does still work. And I was really looking forward to getting this new M4 Mac Mini at $500 because with education discount and stuff, that would have been the price. But now, last time I looked, the cheapest Mac Mini you could get was $799.
Yeah.
And that's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, that one does come with like that one's 512 gigs of storage and 16 gigs of RAM. I'm trying to remember, but like, you know, it's got some upgrades over the base model, you know, the $500 version.
So I'm looking at
For
it now.
sure,
So yeah,
but-
$799 is the cheapest you can get. It's got the 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, and
Yep.
16-core neural engine. So yes, it is obviously better than what the base was, but it's also more expensive than what the base was.
It's also more expensive. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's really unfortunate. And then what's sad is the next available upgrade, you go from $799 to $1399, which
Yeah. Is that the M4 Pro though? Is that?
yeah, okay, that's the
That
M4
the
Pro
Pro
chip.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, I mean, if you need that much horsepower, that's a good price for it, honestly. But most people don't need that much horsepower.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So yeah, that's the sad Apple news. We're going to move on from that because it makes me sad.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Google now and talk about the all new Fitbit Air.
Yeah, so this has been rumored for a little while. Listener, I don't know if you've heard of the brand Whoop. They've made a fitness tracker it doesn't have a screen. It's just a band that does some basic fitness tracking. It's apparent. I had never heard of it until
Yeah, same.
more rumors about this Fitbit Air were coming out, because I mean, I can't say that I'm not in that sphere, because I have an Apple Watch. I do keep track of Garmin watches because I'm very interested in one of those. So like I do kind of look for these things, but I'd never heard of it. And apparently it's super popular among professional athletes. And I say it's popular among them. They're getting paid to use it, I'm sure. But
probably
a lot of professional athletes use these Whoop bands, and a lot of people have started using them because of that. But I had never heard of them. But basically what it is, it's just a screenless, notificationless fitness tracker is really all it is. Like, so if you're the type of person that you've wanted to have some sort of fitness tracking, but you don't care if it's a watch because you like regular watches, or you just you don't care if it has those features, then the Whoop was for you. But now Fitbit came out with their own version of that. And that's like what that is. It's just a band that straps onto your wrist. They also do, well, the Whoop has like a chest strap or an arm strap, and I would imagine that Fitbit will eventually come out with those. We currently don't have that, strangely enough. But I would imagine in the future it will come out with that. But it's only $100, which I believe is half the price of the Whoop band. I think the Whoop band's $200.
Yeah. Yep.
And it also doesn't require a subscription to utilize it, whereas the Whoop band, it's like $200 a year for their subscription.
Yes. The thing I love about that is that, listener, you're thinking to yourself like, oh, that's for all the fancy metrics and analysis and stuff like that. And I don't need that. I just need basic fitness tracking. No, that's the basic fitness tracking.
Yeah.
To get the Whoop band to do anything,
Yep.
you have to pay for the subscription.
Yeah.
It's like the stupid sleep pod thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, boy, what a great tool that is. That would be really nice to have if I didn't have to pay a subscription to actually change the temperature of my bed. The one thing that I don't need the sleep tracking. I don't need the fancy analytics and analysis and recommendations and crap like that. I just want to be able to set one temperature for one side of the bed, one temperature for the other side of the bed, and call it good. And no, you can't do it without the subscription. That's what the Whoop band is.
Yeah.
The Fitbit is just a fitness tracker. They have a bunch of fancy analysis services and whatnot that they will sell you a subscription for. But for basic fitness tracking, it just does that.
Yeah. And if you do pay for the subscription, it's only $99 for a year.
Yep.
So it's half the price to buy the hardware. It's also half the price to buy the subscription if you want it. But you don't have to have it, which is great. Yeah. So I love the idea behind this. Again, I like having the watch features with my fitness tracking. So, like, this is not the product for me personally, but I love that there is the option of it for people that don't care if they have the watch features. They just want the band. It's a good looking band, and you can get, like, they have a lot of different colors, different types of bands. And right now, if you pre-order it, they'll give you $35 in Google Store credit, which conveniently is the price of a different band. So you can basically get the Fitbit Air and an additional band for the price of just the Fitbit Air if you pre-order. Not a bad deal. But like Caleb was saying, this does a lot of the basic fitness tracking, does heart rate stuff. It has an accelerometer. It's got a gyroscope. It's got blood oxygen sensor, like a lot of basic things that you would expect to have for a fitness tracker. It is water resistant up to 50 meters. Battery life is up to 7 days is what they're claiming. It also says you can get a full charge from 0 to 100 in about 90 minutes. Not too bad. I saw somewhere that they're claiming you can get a day's worth of battery in 5 minutes. So if it's getting really low and you don't have a lot of time to charge it, throw it on the charger for a couple minutes and you'll be good at least for the next day or two. That's pretty nice.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't, again, this isn't for me, but I like that there's another option besides Whoop, because that thing was ridiculously expensive and you have to have a subscription for it. I would be shocked if there aren't people that have those and like them, but are like, you know what? I'm going with that one because it's a lot cheaper and I don't have to pay a subscription for it. I mean, that in and of itself is a win.
And massive benefit, if you have like one of those smart rings or something like that, you should totally switch to this, because if you happen to like sprain your wrist and it swells, they don't have to cut it off of you with emergency like saws and stuff like that.
Yeah, they can just use some scissors to cut the band and your fitness tracker still works.
And the fitness tracker's still intact, yes. I mean, and honestly, the design of the bands, they won't even have to use the scissors.
That's
it doesn't
true.
matter how much your wrist swells up. It's Velcro, guys. Like,
yeah. Yep.
Cool. No, I like that one. That's good. All right. We are going to move on to some Microsoft news. Just kidding. We're skipping Microsoft entirely. We're going to talk about some general tech stuff. First of all, ChatGPT can now connect to your financial accounts. Isn't that great news? Now, to be clear, this is ChatGPT being able to hook in to the reports from your financial accounts, not the controls of the accounts themselves.
Yes.
So ChatGPT is not going to be able to hijack your bank account and go spend all of your money if you do this. However, listener, I think it's prudent to assume that at some point in the future, ChatGPT will be given the ability to hook directly into your financial accounts if you do sign up for this. So maybe don't.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it's going to be able to like give you recommendations on how to manage your spending better, or do better with budgeting or stuff like that. And it's just, listen, I have watched enough YouTube videos where a reasonable, intelligent, well-researched, and well-spoken human being has to start off the video by saying, this is not financial advice, because they're legally obligated to do that because they're not a trained like finance person. And so they can't actually give you financial advice. And if they do claim they're giving you financial advice, then you can sue them and it's a whole thing. I don't trust ChatGPT to give me financial advice. I don't think you should either, listener. That said, it might be funny. Just know that if you do sign up for it because you think it's funny and you want to laugh at the stupid robot, there's a good chance that they'll update the feature. It will be given control of your accounts, and it's going to it's going to convert all of your money to Bitcoin or something like that. And then Bitcoin's going to crash. And I don't know, like, it just seems like this is a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You know? That's what it seems like to me. Speaking of steps in the wrong direction, actually, let's move on to our next item here. GameStop. The CEO of GameStop a couple of weeks ago made an offer to purchase eBay. Now, big corporations purchasing other big corporations is totally a thing that happens. And, even like large successful corporations like Activision Blizzard, for instance, are theoretically up for sale at the right price, assuming somebody offers that price. And to be fair, the price that was offered for eBay, which has a market capitalization of like 40 something billion dollars, the offer was more than that. It was like 60 something billion dollars, which is like, okay, no, that's actually a pretty attractive price for eBay. The only problem with that is that GameStop has a total valuation of less than $10 billion. So they can't buy something for 60 something billion dollars. That's not how math works. Like, these numbers don't match up anywhere. It doesn't make any gosh darn sense. And the whole thing was just an absolute comedy. I don't know if it was intentionally funny, but yes, the CEO of GameStop went and did interviews. He started liquidating a bunch of old, like, classic video game memorabilia and nostalgia that GameStop has, like, in their coffers from various places. Started liquidating that stuff via eBay, putting those listings up on eBay to sell them, ostensibly to raise money for the purchase or something like that. eBay shut down his eBay account.
That's funny.
Because he was, obviously. And, people asked him, like, so how are you getting the money for this? Because obviously nobody's going to finance your tiny little company enough to buy eBay. And he had a bunch of stupid answers that really made it look like he didn't realize that he had clicked send on that email. That's how it seemed. And he was just trying to roll with it. Then finally, eBay turns around, gave him a response, obviously refused. And the response identified the offer as being neither compelling or possible, or something like that. Basically, we kind of, in business speak, a little bit like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? You must have been kidding. Surely this was a joke.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely loved it. That is the thing, a moment in time that happened. It's very similar to like the GameStop stock fiasco from a few years back, where people found out that the GameStop stock was being shorted by a giant financial firm, and everybody bought GameStop's stock to make the price go up so that this financial firm that had shorted the stock would go bankrupt, essentially. And it kind of worked. It was kind of a giant middle finger to Wall Street, which was kind of fun. And this feels like a spill on from that. The CEO was like, oh, it's been too many years since we've been in the headlines. I need to do something absolutely crazy to get us in the headlines. Well, it worked, I guess.
Yeah.
You are in the headlines. So congratulations. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to Spotify, who have introduced Spotify Wrapped, but like forever.
Yeah. So apparently Spotify is turning 20 years old this week. And to celebrate that, they're letting users, like, if you haven't seen this, listener, it's kind of right there in front. It doesn't have a pop-up right in front of your face. You do have to kind of not look for it, but be paying attention. But when you open Spotify, it's usually got like different playlists that it'll offer you and things like that. And inside of that scrolling, you'll find a little thing that I don't even remember what it says, but it's like, here to celebrate 20 years of Spotify, let's look at your listening history. And it goes through when you started listening on Spotify to now. And so what it'll tell you when your first day on Spotify was. It'll tell you the first song that you listened to on Spotify, which is kind of interesting, depending on how long you've been on there. It'll also tell you how many total number of unique songs, not just all the songs you've listened to, but individual songs you've listened to in the time you've been on Spotify. And then it'll also tell you your most streamed artist of all time. So it's kind of like Spotify Wrapped, but just since the whole time you've been on Spotify.
The whole time you've been on Spotify.
Which, for me, would be really interesting if I listened to a lot of music, because I've been on Spotify since it was invite only when it first came to the US. Because listener, Spotify hasn't been available worldwide the entire 20 years. It became available in the US in 2011, because that's when I started on Spotify. It was 2011 when it was invite only. I got an invite from someone. I got on there. I messed around a little bit. I didn't stay very long because I wasn't paying for Spotify at that point. And it had ads and things like that. You couldn't listen to an album all the way through unless I had a workaround, because if you just turned an album into a playlist, then you could pick what song you wanted to listen to through that play, and that's how I got around. So I've got still, strangely enough, different playlists that are just specific albums that I wanted to listen to at the time.
Yeah.
But because over 10 years ago, I switched to predominantly listening to podcasts, my count on Spotify is not nearly as high as it should be based on how long I've been on Spotify. Now, for me, it was like 4,300 individual songs that I've listened to, which is not a small amount. But when I compared it to a coworker of mine that's been on Spotify for considerably less time than I have, but he only listens to music, his number was like 9,000 something songs, considerably more than me. But it was still even for me, it was interesting to go back and like, oh, this is it told me the first day, it was like July 14th or something like that of 2011. And it told me the first song I listened to, and then my, again, most streamed art. Like, this is just interesting information to know. So if you've used Spotify at all, I would go in and look at this, because it's just interesting. It's nothing that's going to change what you do on Spotify, but it is just cool to know. It also, once you do this, it can create for you a playlist of your all-time most streamed artists or most streamed songs. So that's another thing, is you can go, once you create that playlist, you go into it, it'll tell you how many times you listen to each individual song. Like my most streamed song, I don't remember what the song was, but the one that I listened to the most was 55 streams of that individual song over the years. So, not a significant amount, but not small by any means.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, like that's a statistically your favorite songs playlist.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. If I had Spotify, I would be interested in that.
Yeah.
I wonder if Apple Music will do something like that in a couple of years when they're like 15 years old ish.
Well,
or getting close.
Is that Apple Music or is that just iTunes?
Apple Music. I would actually love to see something about the history of my iTunes account.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, like, I will go and look at my purchased music and be like, wow, why did I buy that? And it's always stuff like I have, I have a copy of Toto's Africa, which great song. Love it. And listened to that, like the copy that I have is from a live performance, like a concert they did. And I was like, why do I have this? Because I also purchased just the studio recording of Toto's Africa. I'm like, why do I have both of these? And I went and listened to the live version, and listener, if you know Africa by Toto, it's the Rains Down in Africa song. You've probably heard it.
Yeah.
And that chorus is incredibly tight harmonies all throughout.
Yeah.
Like just super, super tight. Sounds great when you hit all of those notes. But the live performance, that's not just the lead singer stacking his voice a bunch of times like it is in the studio recording. It's the whole band just picking apart and singing. And this live recording was not from like the 80s, 90s or anything like that. No, it was from like 2007 or something. And they were, those guys were getting a little bit older by then, and they could not find those harmonies to save their lives. So the chorus on every chorus that track was awful. And I think what happened was I wanted Africa by Toto, and I went and looked, and I found it, and I found this live recording was 99 cents, whereas the actual one was $1.29. So I bought the 99-cent album or track and listened to it and went, oh, this sucks. So then I went and bought the $1.29 one as well. So yes, there's all kinds of weird little crap like that in the depths of my iTunes account somewhere. I would love that. But I don't know that Apple tracks those statistics the way that they would need to. Because like, how many iPods do I have that I've listened to these songs on dozens of times and then never plugged them back into a computer to get those numbers,
And it wouldn't tell you how many times you listen to it on the iPod because it doesn't keep track of that stuff.
Well, some of the newer iPods did, but it depends on which version of iPod you're talking about. Like some of the newer ones did keep track of play counts, but if you were listening to it on like an old iPod mini or something like that, then it did not track play count on those.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Well, so that's fun for Spotify users. All right, we're going to move on to some gaming news. And actually, we have a few things going on in gaming over the past several weeks. First of all, the Steam controller. It's doing pretty well. It sold out in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Orders went live. It sold out in 30 minutes. It seems like Valve was not anticipating scalpers to be as crazy about the Steam controller as they were about the Steam Deck, because it is just a controller, not really that big, but no, they were crazy about it. So Valve did, after that initial wave, they spun up basically a anti scalping method of purchase, because in order to buy the Steam controller you have to go through Steam, right? You buy it in Steam, which means you have to have a Steam account, and they have a reservation system set up for it, so you can reserve a spot in line to purchase a Steam controller. And in order to do that, you can only reserve one Steam controller for your account, period. And in order to actually make the reservation, your Steam account has to be in good standing, and you have to have purchased a game on that Steam account before April 27th or something like that. So basically impossible to game this system. So that's good. So Steam controller is now more readily available to consumers that actually want it. It's shipping pretty darn quickly. People seem to be generally quite pleased with it. A few notable things about it: if you drop the thing, because it has a built-in speaker. Not sure if I mentioned that when we initially talked about the thing. Has built-in speaker. If you drop it more than a couple of feet, about 1 in every 4 times, it plays a Wilhelm scream over the speaker.
That's amazing.
So that's a fun Easter egg. And another thing, Valve, man, there's so many people trying to sue Valve for monopolistic practices. Here's the thing. Valve doesn't have a monopoly because they did the traditional capitalist thing and bought their way into a monopoly position by just getting rid of all the competition. They actually have totally valid competition in the Epic Game Store and stuff like GOG.com and itch.io and that sort of thing. The reason that the vast majority of PC games are purchased via Valve is because Valve are just nice.
Yeah.
So a Steam controller buyer shared an email that they got from Valve to let them know that there had been a shipping problem and their controller, they live in the US, had been routed through the UK for some reason.
Huh.
And so it was going to take them like an extra 2 weeks to get the thing, as opposed to most of the, like, these things are shipping within days to most people. But yeah, it was going to take more than a week for them to get their controller. And because of this, Valve sent them an apology email. Not necessarily that surprising. The apology email also was just like, hey, reply to us with one standard edition of any game on Steam and we'll add it to your account.
Huh. Nice.
They gave them a free game to make up for the shipping being slow.
That's awesome.
I'm just like, stuff like this is why, Tim Sweeney, that's why we're not buying games on the Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
Dude. It's because if you do it through Steam, like, your experience overall just tends to be way better. Anyways, it's the same reason why Costco looks like a monopoly in the quote-unquote warehouse. Like, who's their competitor? Sam's Club. And does anybody love having a Sam's Club account? No, they tolerate having a Sam's Club membership because they can't get a Costco membership usually. No, it's because the company treats their customers well. That's why they look like a monopoly, not because there isn't any competition. The competition, in fact, is the reason why they're doing it. So good. I'm glad the competition exists. I'm glad the Epic Game Store exists, Tim, because it makes Steam take this seriously. And when Steam takes it seriously, everybody wins. Also, I get a free game every week from Epic, so that's nice too. Anyways, last thing about the Steam controller is not actually about the Steam controller at all. Stuff like code in Steam, people have been crawling the latest releases and updates to the Steam client and discovered that there are hints to a similar anti-scalping system as has been put in place for the Steam controller existing for the Steam machine, which means that Valve is already planning to sell the Steam machine. They're putting the infrastructure in place to do so. That's notable, especially when you consider that Valve ships product from China into the United States for sale and distribution. They've been doing that for years because of the Steam Deck. They are now doing it because of the Steam controller. Pallets that are loaded up with Steam controllers weigh different amounts than pallets that are loaded up with Steam Decks.
Yeah.
We know this because we have access to shipping records, apparently. I say we. I don't. I don't know how people find this out. But there are people whose job it is to know this stuff, and they have looked into it. We know how much a pallet loaded with Steam Decks weighs. We know how much a pallet loaded with Steam controllers weighs. Valve has imported 30 tons of pallets that don't match either of those things over the past few weeks. Steam machines? Could be Steam machines.
Very
We
likely.
don't know for sure. It's possible they redesigned the packaging for the Steam controller or the Steam Deck, or they have combined the shipping of the Steam controller and the Steam Deck onto the same pallets, and maybe that's screwing with things. We don't know for sure, but possible Steam Deck launch or Steam machine launch in the next month or so.
What they actually did
So-
is now every purchase of a Steam Deck or a Steam controller also comes with a brick.
Yeah, you know what? It would not surprise me if Gaben just like, you know what? Give them all a little gold bar with their device now. It just change the weight of everything. They all get a couple of grams of gold
It'd be great.
because he could probably afford to do that. Let's be honest. Okay. Moving on to less happy news. Switch 2. Nintendo has announced price increase coming for the Switch 2, which sucks. We kind of knew it was going to happen, though. The nice thing about this is that the Switch 2 price increases at the beginning of June or July. I think it might have been July. So they actually gave us quite a bit of warning, which is nice compared to like Sony, who gave us, I think, 3 days warning on the price increase for the PlayStation 5. That means that you do have a little bit if you want to go panic buy a Switch 2 at the launch price, which was already kind of high.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to get worse. It's going up by $50 in the US, I believe. So if you want to go panic buy a Switch 2, you've got a few weeks to do so. Sucks.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, in an effort to try and finish the gaming news off on a slightly up note, GTA 6 theoretically exists. Somebody inside of Rockstar has leaked the pre-order date for it. Supposedly, pre-orders for GTA 6 are going to be live yesterday, as of you listening to this podcast, listener. It's theoretically May 18th is the pre-order date. You, listener, you know if that was true or not, what I just said. If it wasn't true, I want you to come back in time into my basement right now and tell me to retract what I just said. Okay, so it must have happened. Yeah, that's really all we have to say about that. I guess pre-order date for GTA 6 is interesting because that does mean we would know the price of the game, which has been rumored to be anything from, hey, it's going to be $60 or $70, which is kind of what you'd expect, or, oh, it's going to be $80, which is AAA games are kind of trending in that direction too. Oh, base version of this game is going to be $100 because we spent like $60 billion making the thing and we need to make that money back somehow, whatever. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Now, as a matter of principle, I have never bought GTA 5. Not because I think that the game is like against my principles or anything like that, but simply because they have re-released it so many times, so desperately trying to get me to buy it on every single platform that I have ever touched, that I refuse to buy it. So, matter of principle, have not bought GTA 5. That extends to GTA 6 for me. As a matter of principle, will not be buying this game. Suck it, Rockstar.
You know what,
that
Caleb?
being said,
I will join you in this. I will also not buy this game.
Yeah, boycott GTA 6 for no good reason. That being said, lots of people very excited about this game, but I do think that it is probably going to be indicative of how things are going to be going in gaming for the next 5-10 years. And the success of GTA 6, I think, genuinely might affect the entire industry. Like, if GTA 6 fails, gaming as a whole might be toast. It's hard to say. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but it seems like there's a lot riding on this one. So, yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled. Whether or not there's pre-orders tomorrow as of recording.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the end of the gaming section. And that brings us very near to the end of the podcast, but we do have one more section. It's time now, listener, to talk about the bright side of life.
Welcome to the bright side of life. Hey! Hey! Jumping!
All right. We're going to start with Wes. Wes, how is the bright... Oh, I guess he's got the flu, so maybe
there's not a bright
maybe
side.
not. What's the bright side of the flu?
More time in bed.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
guess that's it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on from Wes then. Landon, why don't you tell us about your bright side for this week?
All right, my bright side of life this week is bowling. Now, listener, this isn't something I've talked about on the podcast, but I really enjoy bowling. I got really into it when I was in high school. I actually took a bowling class, went bowling a lot. It was a lot of fun for me, and like over the years, I've not been able to go as much as I would like to, just because life happens, gets busy, things. But I did go bowling this past week, and I really enjoyed. I didn't do nearly as well as I used to do, and I didn't do nearly as well as I have recently done. That's partially because I have a new to me bowling ball that I'm still trying to get used to, and I'm not used to it at all yet. It is a lot more crazy than anything I've used in the past. But I do really enjoy bowling, and I'm also one of those people that I watch bowling on TV, and the past couple months has been the PBA season. It is coming to a close in the next month or so, which will be sad for me because then I won't have bowling to watch every weekend like I have the last little while. But it is enjoyable to me, and this season in particular has been kind of wild. We've got we've had 2 rookies win major tournaments, and I've watched bowling for the last 4 or 5 years on TV. I've never watched a 300 game on TV. There's been 2 this year, almost 4. There were 2 games that were 299. Like it got down to the last frame, and 2 strikes, and then the third one that would have been there got 9. It's like, what? This is insane. It's been a fun season to watch. So, for me, I've enjoyed it. Been a lot of fun. And like I said, I did go bowling this past week. Even though I didn't play nearly as well as I would like to, it's still fun. I enjoy bowling a lot. So, listener, if you are capable, if you have a bowling alley near you, I would recommend just go play a couple games this week. Just have some fun. Take some time. Enjoy it.
Wow. As a person who feels pretty good about myself if I score more than 100 bowling, and listener, this man owns bowling balls. I don't, it's wild. That's just nuts. All right. Okay. I'm going to finish off our bright side this week by dating myself. We do that a lot on this show.
Yeah, it's fair.
I suppose. Evanescence dropped a new track this couple days ago. I guess actually they dropped the track a few weeks ago, but the music video dropped a couple of days ago. And I listened to it literally tonight just before the podcast. I was totally unaware of this, despite the fact that I have Evanescence's entire discography up to, I guess, a few weeks ago, as a part of my regular rotation of music listening. Listen, Evanescence was huge when I was in high school, listener. I did not really listen to that much Evanescence when I was in high school. I knew My Immortal. I recognized the one from Daredevil. Gosh dang it. Bring Me to Life. I knew these songs that were really big, super recognizable tracks from Evanescence, and I liked them, but I didn't really listen to them that much. It wasn't until years later, after I graduated, that I went back and was like, oh yeah, Evanescence, I'm going to listen, I was not an emo kid. It was not my thing. But for some reason, a few years after high school, I was just like, holy crap, Amy Lee is one of the greatest vocalists of our time.
She's amazing.
And then I just started listening to all of their stuff. And it's been a few decades since 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 Evanescence really got going, and she has not missed a step. She sounds incredible. The band sounds incredible. The new track is absolutely fantastic. I love it. It is, I want to say classic Evanescence, but like post-breakup classic Evanescence, you know? So like right around 2011, 2012, kind of in that time period. Think self-titled Evanescence album, kind of that sound. But yeah, like kind of moving past some of their more avant-garde experimental stuff that they did 10 years ago. This is just classic, right down the middle, nu metal Evanescence. You listen to the lyrics, it feels very Everybody's Fool, and Amy's vocals absolutely on point. The instrumentation and everything is just like, you know, classic nu metal, but also, hey, look, there's a piano back there doing piano things because that's Evanescence's brand. And it was great to listen to that and just be like, heck yeah, this is just right in the nostalgia. So I don't know if that's going to work out for you, listener, but if you are old like me, then Evanescence is, I guess there's a new album coming, turns out. Like they're doing several track releases up to an album coming out at the beginning of June. So I completely missed that, but I'm happy to know about it now. And that did definitely brighten up my week. All right. That's it for the this episode of the podcast, listener. Unless, Landen, do you have one more thing?
No, I don't.
Okay. That is just such a pause.
You know, it's funny because on our last episode, Wes mentioned how short the pause was. I was really tempted to go in while editing and make it an exceptionally long pause, but leave his comments about how short I didn't end up doing that. It would have been hilarious. I should have done that.
That would have been funny. Oh man, that would have been good. Wes sometimes forgets how much power you have in the editing room.
Yep.
Very good. All right, listener, that brings us then to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for joining with us this week to catch up on everything that's been happening in tech over the past few weeks. We appreciate it. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook. You can email us. You can find us on the World Wide Web at www.callingallplatforms.com. And you can get a hold of us there as well. You can also find us on YouTube. There's a couple of channels there, Calling All Platforms Tech and Calling All Platforms Gaming, neither of which gets updated with any kind of regularity, but hey, that just makes it part of the fun. Subscribe.
Yay.
And you can also find us right back here on the podcasting app of your choice next week. Until then, bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.